this is an important part of developing this country. We need to bring in as many people into the system. It is Joe Louis who once said that you only live once. And if you do it right, once is what? Enough. And I think the doctor did right. If I were you, I would clap. But since I'm not you, we're going to listen to a couple of people today who will talk to us about financial inclusion, who will talk to us about the doctor. But allow me to first recognize a couple of people who have joined us today. Board members of the Micro Finance Support Center, Mr. Twesime Frederick Takuba, thank you so much for coming. Dr. Diane Nandagire Ntamu, Mr. Barije Robert, and also the board chairperson, Dr. Ali Bakiza Emmanuel. Also senior management of Microfinance Support Center, thank you so much for joining us. We have a representative from the Office of the Prime Minister, Bernadette Ndeme, thank you so much for coming. Also representative from the Food and Agriculture Organization in Uganda, Dr. Emmanuel Ziwa. I've seen representatives from the Government Citizen Interaction Center. The director is here with us, Marcela Kareche, and I also saw Duncan somewhere. Yes, Duncan Abigaba, who is the deputy director. Throughout this conference, I'll be telling you about the other people who have joined us. First to talk to us, allow me welcome the Executive Director of the Microfinance Support Center, Mr. John Peter Mujuni. Welcome.
Our chief guest, Honorable Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, the Board of Directors, Microfinance Support Center, representatives from the various ministries and agencies, and in a special way, representatives from the financial services sector and the cooperative sector, the family of the late Dr. Chisamba Mugerwa, I see them around, including the widow of Dr. Chisamba Mugerwa and the children. I see them around. You are most welcome. The management of the Microfinance Support Center, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome you most candidly and warmly to this occasion. We are here to celebrate 20 years of financial inclusion, 20 years of existence of the Microfinance Support Center, which was established way back in 2001. And as we celebrate, we picked out two main things that we thought we should do. One of them is really to remember the late Dr. Chisamba Mugerwa for his contribution to financial services and financial inclusion in this country. You know very well that he was a great advocate of services for the poor, most especially the financial services. He played a key role during the Ntandikwa scheme, which was the mother of financial services for the poor in this country. And so for that, We want to remember him. We also remember him for the role he played when he served as the chairperson of the Microfinance Support Center for some time before he left, he departed. We want to remember him. We also, as we mark the 20 years, we want to, today, we shall be launching the Savings Challenge. Microfinance Support Center has been at the forefront in promoting savings in this country, especially in the rural areas. And we want to accelerate this program and further promote savings, because we know that the savings are the foundation. They are the basis for growth, not only of the rural areas, but also of the entire economy. The Microfinance Support Center committed itself to building very, very strong financial services sector, a kind of sector that is resilient, that can withstand shocks like you have seen in the recent past, the shocks of COVID and others. We want to build that kind of sector that is resilient. We are proud to say that even with the disturbances that we had recently, the circles that we built were among the few financial institutions that remained stable to some extent. And so we believe that a country can actually survive on its savings if we make an effort. The country can survive on savings, and then we can reduce on the dependence on foreign support, even on government support as far as the circles are concerned in the rural areas. So we are committed to that, and that's why we want to launch the Savings Challenge today, which we should be able to see through in the coming period. We shall have a series of so many other activities that will underscore the promotion of savings in the country. Honorable Minister, I want to thank you once again for accepting to come, and our guests. I know that we are going to have quite a number of presentations and discussions on this occasion, and I wish you a good participation as our guests. I would like to take this opportunity right now to invite my chairperson of the Board of Directors, Dr. Chiza Ariba, to come and address this congregation. Thank you very much.
Honorable Minister, my brother Felix, Afande Felix, I love you. You know it that I love you. And I'm happy to see you at our home as Microfinance. May we clap for Afande Felix, yes, my very long time friend, the deputy of NPA, my brother Edie of UDC, Uganda Development Corporation. What we have worked together, very many things. I love you, and I'm sure you know that I love you. So thank you, Idi. The family of late Dr. Kisamba Mugerwa, some I have met, some I have not met. I've mainly worked with Miriam. May you stand up, that gallant lady? Let's clap for her. I've worked with her in the commercialization of cassava in northern Uganda. Dr. Virungi assigned her the responsibilities to be there. She's doing a wonderful job that side. We love you. Honorable Minister, would like to commit ourselves as Microfinance Support Center, and especially that you gave us a gallant board of directors here. May you stand up for recognition. The board of directors of Microfinance Support Center. With this, Honorable Minister, we cannot go wrong. We cannot go wrong. And then, by good luck, you take your seats again. By good luck, I found a very formidable team of management. May you stand up? The team of management of Microfinance Support Center. Team, you are here. That team, I have interacted with them one by one. We cannot go wrong with them. And all our gallant staff in the zones and those present. Honorable Minister, would like to commit ourselves to the government of Uganda, to His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda, and to you as our parent ministry, that financial inclusion and the culture of saving we must promote as Microfinance Support Center. And we are able to do that. We have tested it. It is possible. Honorable Minister, I have moved to over 100 districts in these 8 months I've been chair. I've toured almost every district in the rural area. If Ugandans, just in Emyoga alone, have managed to save over 60 billion, things are possible. Honorable Minister, things are possible. For us is to provide the avenue of mobilizing Ugandans to sell something every day and save something every day. Sell something every day and save something every day. And we are ready to take on that challenge. We are moving rural, Honorable Minister. Our population are not the EDs and no. For those, they have a lot of things to sell every day and a lot of money to save every day. Our focus is the rural person. By good luck, Honorable Minister, you know the chair you put in microfinance, you know him well. I am not a town person. I am a rural man. And when I tell you I have visited Karenga, I have visited Agago, I have visited all the rural districts of Uganda, I have covered them. You people clap for me. I'm not a joke. I am not a joke. This is a fact. What we intend to do, we do it, and we do it very well. Saving as a culture has to continue in this country, and we are ready to promote that. Honorable Minister, just sit back, provide all the necessary support that you always give us, the rest leave it in our hands. Ugandans will have something to sell every day. Ugandans will have something to save every day. Thank you for listening to me. May I now humbly invite our chief guest, Honorable Minister, to come and address us. We are very grateful. A hand of applause as we welcome Honorable Minister.
The board, members of Micro Support Center, management. Do we have MPs here? They didn't come. Maybe they are too busy preparing for the funeral of our departed speaker. Invited guests, the family of Dr. Kisamba Mugerwa, ladies and gentlemen, a good morning. Maybe before I proceed, I request that we observe a minute of silence for our departed Right Honorable Speaker, but also Kisamba Mugerwa. Can you all stand up? May the good God rest their souls in eternal peace. Sit down. Let me speak about Kisamba Mugerwa first. I knew him during our old politics in 1980s. He was DP, I was UPM. But we talked and interacted. A man of passion. I'll also tell you another angle on personal businesses. An intellectual. When I was Minister of Finance, Minister of State for Finance in charge of planning, we interacted even much more. And we made him the chairman of the National Planning Authority. He did his Kisanja. I tried to encourage him, why don't you, can I give you another Kisanja? He said, I want also to go and do a few things of my own. So he did not agree that I should give him another Kisanja. So he left. Now when he left, this microfinance support center you are talking about had many problems. I was hearing and receiving reports. I called him. I said, Kisamba, now that you have a bit of free time on yourself, can't you go and help me to sort out that place? He said, oh, that one I can do because it's not full time. That's how he came to be the chairman of Microfinance Support Center. He did whatever he could do to stabilize the institution. Dr. Oliver, the work you inherited was his. He stabilized the place. I think got new managers, am I right? He got new managers, and that's what they were now seeing today. So, he needs a clap. Mama, I must apologize. Sorry, I thought I should be coming to see you there, but I have not come to see him. Kisamba Mugerwa, he was a farmer. And there is his wife there. And you know I'm also a small farmer somewhere. Have you heard that? I am a small farmer somewhere there. So they bought some goats for me. I hope they are still well. Are they doing very well, Mama? They are doing very well. Mumukomere mungalo. Webale nnyo okumulabirira. Katonda yamutwala naye bwe bitu bwe biba. Webale n'okulabirira abaana muyimire mutulabe. You stand up for the children. I'm not very familiar with you. Those are the roots of Kisamba Mugerwa we are talking about. A very outright spoken man, very academic at times. That's why we at times would get a difference. When he was an NPA chairman, academic. But he proves his case, why he thinks the way he thinks. So, we are very happy that today you are now still remembering him. That's how it should be. Death is part of our living, by the way. You know, I always criticize, do we have reverends here? Do we have reverends? You know those reverends, I have a quarrel with them. Do you know why? They don't tell us that living is part of, no, death is a part of living. You are born, you grow, you die. But you see people rolling around when they have lost their right. As long as you have been born, there will be a day to come for you to die. The only problem is at what time, at what stage you die. Here now, I'm approaching 80. And now if I go tomorrow, I told my children, never cry. I told never cry. When I was burying my father who died at 88, there was his sister. He said, oh, again. I said, aunt, stop talking nonsense. He has not gone. He has rested. You hear? So please, death is part of our living. But it is at what time you go, maybe that we could, that hurts. I'm delighted to preside over this event, the Dr. Kisama Mugerwa Memorial Lecture, which is the first of a series of events organized to mark Micro Support Center's 20th birthday. Hey, are you already 20 years? Are you already 20 years? Stand up when we sing for you happy birthday. Stand up when we sing for you happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Dear Microfinance Support Center, happy birthday to you.
Okay. For the last 20 years, sit down. Micro Support Center has taken the lead in the implementation of government microfinance programs in line with the financial inclusion agenda. Since inception, Micro Support Center target clientele, especially the circles that have been growing in portfolio and savings. Now, I will talk about savings. I was telling the chairman here and the ED, if you want your country to develop without much borrowing from outside the country, the answer is saving. You know, I borrow quite a bit of money. You will hear soon. I'm coming to Parliament. I'm coming to Parliament to present the budget. You will hear soon the figures. Savings. I was somewhere, somebody was talking, he talks something like this. As you earn, save. As you earn, save. If every Ugandan who is earning were to save about, I will not put it the figure very far, you saved 20,000 shillings every month, the amount of savings in this country, somebody can work it out. I think now we are about, take an average of 10 million people who are working, either in the chambers or they are working in some formal sector. You can find out the amount of money per week, per month that we would save. And once you have saved that money, then we have a reserve, which when Kasaija is working out his budget, instead of going to Washington, instead of going to London to borrow, where they charge you some good interest, and then you have to pay and externalize your money here to service those loans, but interest particularly. When I'm doing my speech on the budget, you hear, we are now spending 5 trillion. 5 trillion shillings to service, and it goes out. I'm not talking about the domestic debt. I have also domestic debt here. But 5 trillion shillings every year leaves Uganda to go to service the interests of the loans. Imagine if that 5 trillion, I paid it to Ugandans here through their savings. They lend me money, their savings. Don't you see that this country would be very different? You are keeping quiet. I want to hear somebody to say yes. Don't you see that this country would be very different? Yes or no? Savings. Savings. You know, my father was a very interesting man. He's the one who taught me to save money. Do you know that if people call me Mukonogamu? Have you heard that? Have you heard that? That minister, Mukonogamu, Mukonogamu. Yes, I'm Mukonogamu. I have no reason to regret. Now our father, he made a small box. A small box. Now he would employ us every Saturday to go and work in the coffee shamba. He had a small coffee shamba. Me and my 2 brothers. Now he would pay us after. That is very Saturday. He would pay us 1 shilling at that time. No, 50 cents. 50 cents. And he would say, I have paid you, but I'm not giving you this money to go and eat kabaragara. Drop it in the box, and we drop it in the box. And he would open it just before Christmas comes. And he has his register, very careful man. He had done his P4, 1 form to P4. Then you'd pick that money, we count, and then he says, now, you see, you saved. Go and buy a shirt or a pair of shorts for Christmas. That's how I came to learn how to save money. Me, I don't play with money. If you gave me 1 million shillings today, I can tell you I will save at least 200,000 somewhere, either in an asset or in liquid cash in the bank. So I'm appealing to all of you, please learn how to save money. First of all, it will help you in difficult times in the future, but also it will build your country. Mubuga Sako in Kisoro, for example, borrowed its first loan of 5 million shillings from Micro Support Center in 2006. At the time, the Sako had 327 members, a savings of 2.6 million shillings, and a loan portfolio of 19 million. Over the years, Micro Support Center continued to support that circle, and today, its membership has gone to 6,142, with savings amounting to 2.6 billion and a loan portfolio of 5.982 billion. When you have saved, you are very attractive to anybody to lend you money for you to go and do other things. That's what that point is saying. We can cite many other examples of SACCO that have been supported by this institution from their infancy and are thriving, such as Bukanga Galiawamu SACCO, Namayingo Uyinja SACCO in Busoga, Bazukuru, Adjumani Town Council SACCO in West Nile, and SACCO Zirowe in Ruero. When the President launched the Presidential Initiative on Job and Wealth Creation, popularly known as the MYOGA, we were confident that given the years of experience in supporting the establishment of circles from scratch, Microfinance Center would deliver to expectations. I am proud to say that as of the close of business of February 2022, MYOGA circles countrywide had a collective savings of, as the chairman has said, 60.32 billion shillings generated solely by themselves, which demonstrates the community's own effort in building the rural resource base. Rwampara Women Entrepreneurs Circle, for example, has a saving of 69 million. Ginger Market Vendors Circle has generated 77 million in savings so far, while Kiotera Produce Dealers have put 185 million in savings. I must applaud the board of directors and the management of Uganda Micro Support Center for executing the program with diligence, and I want to encourage that more and more circles are supported to finishing it, to shining examples. No doubt, the late Dr. Kisamba Mugerwa would have been a very proud man for this achievement, but we are here to represent him. As we all know, he was very passionate about financial inclusion and worked hard to see that the Micro Support Center extended its footprint further to grassroots. He passionately spoke about development of cottage industries, you hear that, through which the financially excluded lot, such as the poor, youth, and the person with disabilities, can be included. A year before his demise, he undertook extensive research in the slum and the ghetto communities around Kampala to understand their plight and work together with the board and the management to find solutions to the socio-economic challenges which those people face. Dr. Kisama Mugerwa was an extremely valuable asset to government and the country at large. That one we have already said. And I'm encouraging the new board and encouraging the current management. Now, I don't want also an economy in which the rich are rich, the poor are poor. I don't know if you understand me. I don't want to develop Uganda because I have seen some problems, that's why I do not mention them for diplomatic reasons, where the rich are really rich and the poor are really poor. Have you understood me? I'm inviting you to fight that trend. But if we are not too careful, if we do not support the weak, your country will be skewed. I can tell you within another 10, 20 years. As long as some of us are still here, I'm not saying that we shall be all equal. No, please don't. You see these fingers? They are not equal. But they are very each is very important. If they cut off one today, you will see how you are going to hold things. We may not be equal, but we must not have extreme poverty in some corners of this country, and then you have got others who are so rich, they even don't know how to count their richness. That's a very bad thing. Now I'm talking as a politician who wants to see this country growing stronger and stronger, but virtually every citizen is also growing and enjoying the comforts of our struggle. We dearly miss him, but we carry on his legacy of ensuring that poor Ugandans are supported to access to affordable financial services for socio-economic development. As we continue with the program, it thus reflects on the principles of financial inclusion, which has the power to bridge the disparities between the rich, and the poor, and offer unimaginable opportunities for poor Ugandans to be on board into the monetary economy. You have heard the parish development model. You know, for us, NRM, we work from different directions to get our objective. That parish development model is tackling the other issue I'm telling you, inequality. That inequality, I know, call it extreme, let me qualify it, extreme inequality. That program, that's what it is, part of the thing that is trying to sort out. We want, even looking at it from a selfish point of view, me as your minister in charge of this economy, when you have got members of your society, they are scratching their head to raise the shilling, some go on an empty stomach, school fees become school fees, and then you start getting even other consequential things, like now people becoming envious of each other. Crime goes up because you have, I don't have. You will remember, I don't know how many of you were here when Amin was being deposed. Who was here in 1979? Hands up. Oh, very few. Very few. Then you don't know. Now let me tell you. When Amin was being chased away by the Tanzanians, combined together with our Bayekera, including my President Museveni, people were not bothered about assets of anybody. That's why they came and looted, destroyed, burnt, because they never felt that they are part and parcel of the economy. They didn't feel that, leave alone being part and parcel of the country called Uganda. So please, Microfinance Support Center and our allies, let's work as hard as possible to bring everybody into the money economy. President Museveni, he presents it different, but we are talking the same language. For him, he does not want it now. People who work for only the stomach. They will call it ekida kyonka. But me, I'm looking at it now as your Minister for Finance and Economic Development. When you have got 39% of your homesteads only working for merely to eat, abanange, kintu kibi, because they will pull you down. They will pull you down on your statistics in terms of levels of development. And it is that point of development, assuming the politics are being done well, that will invite more and more and more people to come and invest in your country. The more people you invite, the more money they bring in, the more development they do, the richer everybody gets, the happier that everybody becomes. Finally, you know, when you have a bit of money, you can do many things. When you fall sick, you can run to the hospital quickly. You can eat the right type of food. At the end of the day, you will spend more years on earth here. And for us, we're working to ensure that the life expectancy of every Ugandan should be not less than 70 years. That's our target. Not less than 70 years. But you can't reach there when you don't have money, when you cannot be treated when you are sick, when the country is not moving on well, and part of stabilization is savings. Savings. As we continue with the program, let us reflect on the principles of financial inclusion, which has the power to bridge the disparities between the rich and the poor and offer unimaginable opportunities for poor Ugandans to be onboarded into the, to be included among the monetary economy. In order to sustain the circles we have created, I challenge Micro Support Center to continue championing financial inclusion and promoting a savings culture among Ugandans. I wish you very fruitful deliberation, and I wish you good life, happy life, so that you can live to 70 to 100 years. May God bless you.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Honorable, let me request you to stay up. We just have two things to do. Number one, we are going to launch the Savings Challenge.
Oh.
And then, before you leave, we know you have a flight to catch. We would like you to watch a short video of the late Dr. Kisamba Mugirwa. Let me welcome the board chair, also the ED of Microfinance Support Center. Honorable, I think you'll use my mic. So let me request you to come down so we can sign on the... Okay. Also, let me welcome the PSST, Secretary to the Treasury, and also Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Finance, to come and join. Hashtag economics that works. Let us put our signature. Honorable, I think you sign when you are showing the media which side here. Yeah. Is that the signature that confirms our loans? Okay. So let's sign. Very good. All the money people sign fast. Today is 29th. Big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Economics that works. Kumbe, that's the signature. Okay. Thank you. Let me welcome the board chair. We are saving starting today. The Honorable has said, even if you give him 1 million shillings, he will at least save what? 200,000 shillings. Excuse me. Is that the... that is the signature to be on the banknotes. Yeah. 29th. Don't we love that signature? We love that signature. We love it. The Executive Director of Microfinance Support Center, Aha. Some of you practice what they call kenzonomics. Ofune 15 no savinga ku mutwalo. Akakaga ate no kalya. So please stop kenzonomics. It doesn't work. We'll now have a photo moment. Yes. We have one with the mask and one without. The one without. So we'll have another one to put in our albums. Economics that works. Social distance. Big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. The Emyoga Savings Challenge has officially been launched. And let me ambush the PS here to come quickly, 1 or 2 words. The good thing you explain to us all the time about how economics works. So let me ambush you about our savings culture, and Chamagiro will also have 1 or 2 things to ask you. But for you as the PS, you are literally at the top. You are the one who tells us, use this, don't use this. What do we need to do to save more?
Okay. You have to disobey the Pankson law, which dictates that the expenditure tends to increase with the income. Once you disobey that, you will be able to save. Let the expenditure either stay the same or reduce with your income. Usually when we get more money, we want to change also the way we live. Some food stops tasting well, We want to change even the eating places. And it's that, discipline, which saving is discipline, basically. Yeah.
What's that law called?
Pankson law.
The Pankson law. Some of you, all of a sudden, when you get money, beans are smelling. Maybe it's a bit beans, yeah? Yet you've been eating the same. Thank you so much, Secretary to the Treasury. A big round of applause. I request us to turn our eyes and ears to the screen. We're going to watch a video, a tribute video to the late Dr. Kisamba Mugera.
Dr. Wilberforce Kisamba Mugera was appointed board chairperson of the Microfinance Support Center in February 2018. His appointment came at a time when the center was developing a new strategic plan 2019-2024 that emphasized financial inclusion, enhancement of household income, and promotion of savings among lowly Ugandans. A 2021 report from Uganda Bureau of Statistics indicated that 8.3 million Ugandans live in poverty. Before his demise, Dr. Kisamba Mugera conducted extensive research in slums and ghetto communities within Kampala, where majority of the urban poor live. His aim was to understand the challenges in developing the slum economy so as to offer effective microfinance solutions.
As you may know, I've been the chairperson of the National Planning Authority. Recently, I was assigned the opportunity to take care of the Microfinance Support Center. As the chairperson has rightly put, we are not alone on the stage. There are quite a number of other institutions who are financing different programs, and there are different initiatives. But what is important for all to understand is that we are focusing on moving socio-economic transformation in this country to ensure that we get rid of poverty. We cannot deal with the people who are not in the monetary economy. When every time you wake up every morning, the soap, the toothpaste, the sugar, and the rest all are demanding for money. So our first focus is to look for those people who are poor but active, who are willing to find something to work upon in order to get out of that poverty.
Dr. Kisamba Mugerwa oyo kitaffe eyatuva ku maaso twamusisinkana mu mbeera bweti nti mukulu Semitego yamutukwasaganyizaako yamutukonekitingako okuva ku community
emabegako awo nga ffe twatandika dde omulimu gwaffe twafuna obuyambi okuva waliwo omukwano gwange yaŋŋamba waliwo omukulu bamuyita Dr. Kisamba Mugerwa naye ayamba nnyo abantu abali mu ghetto abalina ebintu bye bakola eby'amaanyi. Omukulu oyo yali mulungi nnyo n'atuyita ne tubeera mu meeting ku Microfinance Support Center ne tunywa n'akacyayi ne tukanywa.
Yali muntu w'amaanyi nnyo ku bantu baffe ab'omu community eno kuba ffe ebibiina nga bina almost yabikwatako.
Ye musajja era yayogera ekintu n'akituukiriza. Ye musajja yali asoose okumpa essuubi mu gavumenti.
N'atusobozesa okuba nga atuyita ku microfinance day to day, mujje tulabe ne tugendayo etusobola okuba nga tutambula naye.
Tusinkana bannabyabufuzi bajja ne batulambula wano naye tewali tuwatukiddako. Ye musajja yekka yasooka okujja n'agamba buli kimu kigenda kukyuka, Mukama nga ye mubeezi waffe era n'atandikira okutukyusa.
Naye nga Dr. Kisamba Mugerwa yali ategeera omuntu w'omu ghetto,
omuntu ava mu community eyo eri high class najja mu ghetto n'atuyamba. Singa abasinga bakola we batyo, singa tuli wala.
So mukolo bulungi nabo bakola ki tunooliddewo.
Omugenzi Dr. Kisamba Mugerwa teyali mukwano gwange kyokka naye yali muganda wange. Kisamba Mugerwa twalabagana okuva mu mwaka gwa 1961 awo nga tusomye Wampeewo junior school gye twakolera junior mu kiseera ekyo.
I consider myself as the most unprivileged person. I've not worked with him for a long time. God deprived me of that opportunity to work with Dr. Kisamba Mugerwa, a celebrated person in this country.
Kyali kirungi nnyo okubeera nti Kisamba bwe yava mu National Planning Authority ate yabeera ne bamuwa chairman w'ekintu ekyo. Era mmanyi yali atandise okulaga nti ajja kuba wa mugaso kinene nnyo eri ekitongole ekyo.
Yalina omutima omumalirivu nga bw'agamba nti ngenda kukola kino akikola n'akituukiriza. Namwewuunyaako we yayingirira ebyobufuzi. Embeera yali mbi nnyo kubanga ate yali mu kibiina kya DP mu kiseera ekyo. So nga ate mu kiseera ekyo UPC abaana baali bakambwe nnyo ng'olaba nti omuntu atalina mutima mugumu teyali kikoze.
Kakati okukwataganya ennyaata enno naye ne tuddamu okukwataganya. Olutalo bwe luggwa lwa 79 olw'okuggyako Amiini. Then ne waddawo ebyobufuzi. N'asalawo okwesimbawo ewaabwe Luweero ne tukampeininga mukunkumi ne tuwangula.
He was a very highly trained person. He was an experienced person and wanted to use that expertise to help Ugandans. We shall further that one up to the grassroots.
Ekyenzijukira ekinene nnyo mu lw'obulungi bwe yali alina mu kwagala abantu n'okulaba nti basituka n'aleeta ekintu ky'entandikwa.
It would bring some young men and women educate them from their physically, first change their mind, after changing their mind, and then shows them how they can practically do it on his farm. This is a great thing that Dr. Chisamba Mugerwa did.
Tugamba nga alina omutima ogwo ogwagala okulaba nti abantu bano oli alina kaakola anaakagaziya atya. Tugamba embeera ey'engeri eyo kale oyo yali Chisamba Mugerwa yali ayagaliza.
Yes. Another big round of applause to the late Dr. Wilberforce Chisamba Mugerwa. Man, a bigger round of applause to even the family of Doctor. I don't know about you, but when I die, I want my family to say there lived a great man in this family. I think that's the legacy we all want to work for. You know, I hear the stories right now about, for example, the late Right Honorable Jacob Olanya. And you can't help but say, well, we can have a conversation about other things on another day, but he was a good man. He lived a good life. He did well for his community. And Dr. Chisamba Mugerwa embodies a man passionate about not just his family, but his community and his country. Isn't that incredible? Let's give him another round of applause. For the benefit of those who were not able to comprehend Luganda, his friends, and I see a table with his friends over there. Let's give them another round of applause. Yes. You know, the former finance minister, Gerald Sendaula, says he joined politics at a time when it was incredibly hard. During the time of UPC, when they won the war, he stood and came to help those who were literally, we call them Muntu wa wansi. There was even a word that was coined, Muntu wa wansi. And there was a huge debate for us in the media. Why are you saying Muntu wa wansi? You say Muntu wa bulijjo. Because Muntu wa wansi defined a very beat person. But the doctor turned that right side up. Very passionate about uplifting the young people. I cried too when I saw the young people from Eco Youth Circle passionately speak about him. At the beginning of this event, I said, Joe Louis said, you only live once, and if you live it right, once is enough. May that be the message we carry from here. When we leave, let's go and serve our people. In a few minutes, we'll have a conversation on how to leverage savings so we can empower these groups, these people that are down there, like someone said. But we're going to look at the slum and ghetto economy that the doctor researched extensively on and see how we can leverage microfinance to spur development at that level. But before we do that, let me welcome our friends all the way from Amuria district. Where are they? They call themselves the Emyoga Performing Artists. Hey, stage name EPA. Emyoga Performing Artists Circle from Amuria district. Welcome. Let's give them a round of applause as they come to the stage. As we get the Emyoga Circle ready, I'd like to also recognize the presence of Gerald Otim, who is the CEO of Ensibuko. Otim is over there. Yes, and I recognize him because Otim spearheaded the digitizing of all these circles. So I want to thank Microfinance Support Center for leveraging fintechs, to be able to encourage more savings. More and more fintechs are getting into this kind of thing where even with a feature phone, you're able to do what your smartphone is doing. They are helping people save, they're helping people withdraw, they're helping people. They are helping people make sure that they grow their money. So thank you, team, and continue doing the work you're doing.
This is a team from Amuria district. We are going to present a song titled, "We Are Pride for Our Government." We thank our government.
Ibaita poke poloni la kwa puono Uganda. Iboyoto dai kere ngomore inonu. Ebeto moke poloni lo Uganda ija ena paina. Iboyoto dai boyi o mame ibore. Iboyoto tena iboyi asipoke polona kwa pu. Iboyoto dai boyi o mame ibore jang. Emyoga idumoni ane o Uganda. Iboyoto dai boyi o mame ibore jang. Na disida kora pugani ono Uganda. Eboyoto dai boy, o mame ibori jang. Eja ikwara polo Uganda, ya umuseve na polo. Eboyoto dai boy, o mame ibori jang jang. Irotina lauti rotini, eja ikwana kimito no chalo. Eboyoto dai boy, o mame ibori jang jang. Asipoke polo ni lo Uganda, so ede boyoto. Eboyoto dai boy, o mame ibori jang. Emyoga wanyoni adoloto no chalo yi emoyoto dai boy o mame ibori jangi jam igongeta soma pugani akorote nita disida eboyoto dai boy o mame ibori nam Tony Ndadisi iwanyona pugana Museveni eboyoto dai boy o mame ibori jangi jam inadisi di dumoni aneo Uganda eboyoto dai boy Parisi modoloda idawana dumunuba eboyoto dai boy o mame ibori jangi jam Emyoga idumoni ane o Uganda boyoto dai boy o mame ibori jangi jangi engara kapugani Uganda oni Uganda ne boyoto dai boy o mame ibori jangi jangi iboro kera so ma pugani la eti rotini kwana boyoto dai boy o mame ibori jangi Akima dolo chalo ye jasho manina titai boyoto dai boy o mame ibori jangi jangi Dolo kapugani tunga kerane o Uganda boyoto dai boy o mame ibori jangi tinapa na Uganda e mame boba keriti bobo e boyoto dai boy o mame ibori jangi e jai kwana yuara Uganda mame ibori jangoni e boyoto dai boy o mame ibori jangi
Yalama, thank you.
Thank you very much. A big round of applause. Big round of applause. Thank you, guys. They'll be back to give us more music. If you didn't understand any word they said, me, I heard the word Museveni. And I knew everything, we are okay. Yeah, then the moment I had those two, I was like, we are fine. Everything is okay. I want to, Honorable, before we go to the next thing, introduce to you the group of young people that was in the video. They are over there. Please come, gentlemen. Please come. Let's clap for them. That table, everyone from that circle, come. If I were you, I would hurry. Come, come, come. Because these guys worked closely with the doctor. And I'm going to give you an opportunity to take a picture with the minister. Have I suggested badly? You have your masks. Put on your masks. You guys, the minister has to pay our debt. Please put on your masks. Honorable, let me welcome you to take a picture with these young men and women who have learned a lot, and they speak highly of the doctor, and of course they encourage all politicians. If all politicians were like Dr. Kisamba, I think that would be, we would be far. Please smile even in your masks. We'll see the eyes. We'll see the eyes. Yes, Eco Youth Development Group. Good job. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies. Opportunity comes once. Kyawo omukulu w'omugamba nti lwaki tebakolayo ministry ya saako okanyiga waawo mpola mpola wamaningi. You must very good. Be bano ba big boys. Eco Youth Development Group. I also want to recognize the presence of Ambassador Professor Semakula Chiwanuka. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Professor, for coming. Olowooza no minister tali mukola speech. I've been educated. Thank you so much, Honorable. We'll allow the Honorable to leave to other duties. And to those of you watching us from your homes, your offices, those of you online that are watching us via UBC and NBS, thank you so much for staying with us. Today, we are not just talking about the life of Dr. Kisamba Mugera. We're also commemorating 20 years of financial inclusion. The doctor was very passionate about the slum and ghetto economy. And we're going to go into that now. I've met many a man who say they are muntu wa wansi, but this guy has taken me to some places and I'm like, indeed oli muntu wa wansi. I thought it was just a brand name, but Bambi is a muntu wa wansi. He can pick up a conversation with anyone, yeah, in any situation. And he's the man that wakes up every morning to speak and preach the gospel of saving, of how to grow your money. First of all, make it, grow it, and also spend it or save it. He's also a personal friend of mine, Mr. Omuntu wa wansi Chamagero Andrew. Welcome. Chamagero Andrew will be moderating a panel discussion on leveraging microfinance to spur the slum and ghetto economy.
Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, just say good morning to your neighbor, Kwanzaa. We are all called. Just say good morning to your neighbor. Turn to your neighbor and say good morning. For us, my name is Andrew Chamagero. Yes, I believe in Omuntu wa wansi so much, and I believe in the policy of saving, because I believe the money you've saved today will save you tomorrow. That is my biggest conversation, and I'm very passionate about it. We're going to be discussing about leveraging the financial inclusion in the ghetto areas to spur them. And on my panel, I have Dr. Fred Muhumuza. Let's clap for Dr. Fred Muhumuza as he finds his way here. Dr. Fred Muhumuza is an expert economist with a PhD from the University of Manchester in the UK. And he has been involved in development policy research, analysis, formulation, review for over 20 years now, with a parallel teaching career at the Makerere University. And from 2006 to 2014, he worked as an economic advisor to the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. Prior to that, Dr. Muhumuza worked as a research fellow at the Economic Policy Research Center, and also served as a senior management position at KPMG and Financial Services Deepening here in Uganda. He's highly analytical, envisions Uganda as a prosperous country in terms of socio-economic development, peaceful with good governance and full of equal opportunities for all of studies, work and enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Muhumuza with us. Again, together with us today we have Dr. Rachel Midra. Let's clap for Dr. Rachel. She makes her way here. I love it when ladies are doctors, and she's a doctor in philosophy from the University of Witwatersrand in South Africa. And she has a Master's of Arts in Money, Banking and Finance from Labank University in the UK, and Bachelor's of Business Administration from Makerere University Business School. She sits on the board of Uganda Security Exchanges, and where she chairs the Business Conduct Committee. She's also a member of board of Audit Committee at the USE. She has done consultancy works for several national and international projects, and she has over 25 published and unpublished research papers. I'm looking forward to the unpublished articles as well, and numerous awards to her name. Away from her corporate life, Dr. Midra is an active Rotarian and fascinated by travel, art, design, gymnastics, and acrobatics. Again, today, ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. James Cash. Mr. James W. Cash, who happens to be the head of research at BRAC, an independent evaluation and research cell in Africa. Let's clap for Mr. Cash. Mr. Cash here manages research and knowledgeable management operations and administration across the BRAC countries in Africa. Among his research topics are livelihood for adolescents in youth, family market value chain and the microfinance for small entrepreneurs. He has a Master's of Social Science in Political Economy of Development in Sub-Saharan Africa and a Master of Social Science in Political Science from University of France and Bangladesh, respectively. Ladies and gentlemen, our conversation has started. Be a part of this conversation online. While you're in here, if you find something intriguing, interesting, tweet it, and let's be a part of the conversation to the diaspora. Okay. Now, this is where it all starts. First of all, I want to thank the Microfinance Support Center. Let's clap for them for 20 years being in existence. I am one of the beneficiaries of Microfinance Support Center through my wife. She applied for something and into the poultry, and yeah, I saw her, you know, her figures going up. So we are not just here to talk, but just to leverage and understand how this works. Now, I'll start off with, just to bring you to speed. Kampala has 57 slums, just so you know. So if you come from the 5 divisions of Kampala, it's more certain that you come from a slum area. Yes, you could come from a gated community, you could be a little bit safe, but your way to your home, what do you see? Ask your neighbor, what do you see on your way home? Ask your neighbor, what do you see on your way home? Now, that smile they're giving you is a clear indication that we all reside either in a slum or we pass through slums to get to our destinations, correct? And I'll start off with Dr. Muhumuza, leveraging and making sure that these slum or the ghetto economies could possibly spark to the next level. Dr. Muhumuza, from your lenses as an economist, what are you seeing we are possibly not doing right as a country, and how can we do it better?
Thank you, Andrew, and morning, everybody. I want to believe I am in this meeting not just because of the academics or the practice, but also my association with the late Kisamba Mugerwa and the family. I knew him as an academic, but also as a politician, and many other things we've worked together. But most importantly, and I'm glad she's coming in, Mama Kisamba, one of my first assignments out of university as a researcher from the economics angle was done jointly on a team that she was on. And it taught me how to deal with the multidimensional research aspects. I was the economist on that assignment, and she was the sociologist on that assignment. So we come really from far in the very field of research. But that's exactly the point where I want to enter your question. I think one of the things we are not doing right is not to understand that communities are multidimensional. Quite often we go to them with financial services as an economic product. And you forget these have cultures, have sociologies, have religions, have so many things. The poor's lives are very complicated. But the information comes through, we sometimes think they have no money. But scholars have written books about portfolios of the poor and their money. When you really read these books, you begin to realize that the poor may not have money in a pot, and quite often we give them piggy banks, thinking that is where they should save. But they are actually saving in their networks. To a poor person, it's okay to sell their goat, open up their pocket, and pay a medical bill for a neighbor's child. Now, for you from the microfinance, you think you gave them that goat to come out of poverty. Tomorrow, when you go back, they have sold that goat to treat a sick child. Now, that's how complicated their lives are. And the child may not even be theirs. But the child is actually of a neighbor, because they know tomorrow when I need money, I will go to that neighbor. So that neighbor's money is my money. So when you talk about the ghetto, and there are 57 of them, you need to see where are these ghetto people coming from. They are partly intertwined with even the communities they left in Amuria, intertwined with the community left in Itoroko. If those people need money, the guy can borrow the money from this circle and actually send it to beef up a business elsewhere. That's how detailed it is, that we're not just supporting the ghetto people here. It's a gateway into so many other poor people's livelihoods. Understanding that will help us tailor the products for them. And I think we are not yet there. Maybe I'll come back to add on that later.
I love the fact that you bring out the context of God is given to help one family to come out of poverty, but it is then sold to help another community. When I come to you, Dr. Rachel, looking at all this, I'm grateful that you went to Witwatersrand University, because with that you could see a lot. You see the divisions where the poor are really poor and the rich are really rich. The minister here said and alluded to the fact that the principles of financial inclusion must be harnessed, and that is bridging the two classes, the rich and the poor. How best can we engage that?
Thank you, moderator. You bring about several aspects there, quite salient factors. In every society, you're going to have the haves and the have-nots.
Yes, absolutely.
But, and what the minister is saying, can we reduce the difference between the haves and the have-nots? That will not go away. But coming down to your question and my observation, even in South Africa, where it's worse than what it is here, we need to begin to look at the have-nots, and that to say the slum dwellers, as people who play an important role in the process of development. For as long as we're going to look at the poor people or the have-nots as people who are a problem in society, then we're not going to sort that out. Coming down to the issue of the pillars of financial inclusion, or the indicators, the access bit, the usage bit, the quality of financial services that we are talking about. And today we see that microfinance is a point of opportunity to begin to leverage on that and the opportunity it brings for the poor people, or the slum dwellers as we speak, to begin to look at them as, you're not going to only focus on businesses or starting micro enterprises, but can you begin to expose them to the wide range of financial services that is going to help them to also participate in the process of development, but also to understand money better. I pick up from where Fred or Dr. Muhumuza, if he would like to speak, that we need to have a multi-pronged approach to say, how do the poor or they have not look at money? They don't look at it the same way as they have, okay? When we begin to understand the way they process money and the way they associate with money, then we are going to solve that problem and engage them in the whole process of development and not looking at them as the problem that is going to widen the gap. So it's a conversation that we need to understand them, or to understand the different segments in society differently, and then prescribe the right medicine or the right initiatives. We're not going to sit here in a high-level conversation and say this is what they need. We actually need to know what they need. The story was on the screen, where we were saying this is what the people want. This is how they perceive money. This is how they perceive development. This is how they perceive the social ties of the glue that puts them together is that social construction that they have. So, if I may, that reducing the gap between the haves and the have-nots from a point of microfinance, from a point of government effort, from a point of collecting data, the research in understanding the behavioral aspect there is very, very important. And that's why I started to say that this is a multi-pronged approach that we have to take to move from what each of us thinks and what the actual people of the have-nots actually need to participate in the process of development.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Rachel. That makes a lot of sense. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know whether you've traveled in your villages. How many of you come from villages where you've seen a BRAC signpost? Maybe on your way home to the villages. Just raise your hand. Don't be shy. See, all of us have seen the signpost of BRAC Uganda. I took time in 2019 to understand the mode of BRAC Uganda, and I don't think there is a model that can help families come out of poverty like BRAC Uganda model. If you've not understood it, find time, read it, understand it, get acquainted with it. Now, James here, you work with BRAC. Your model is unique. I've looked at all the different models, and I think it's one that speaks to the need, like Rachel says, that we need first to understand the lens of the ghetto youth or the ghetto communities and the slum communities, how they envision money. You as BRAC, what do you see from the communities, especially you operate more in the rural settings?
Thank you.
The mic?
Hello? I hope it works.
It's on.
Hello. So, thank you. I think that's very important, first of all. This is the first question, like understanding whom we are working for. So, I think BRAC is built on that philosophy. Let me start with a story, a very amazing story right now, influencing the entire world to answer your question. Like you might have heard a very established BRAC model, UPG, ultra poor graduation. It is one of the most globally researched development model, not only by BRAC, but also by external. So first of all, how did it originate? So BRAC research found that the primary beneficiary of microfinance by BRAC is not reaching to bottom 10. So then BRAC founder Sir Fazle Hassan said, I am for them and we are not reaching to them. So what do we do? So we are not meeting our target. So then this program was initiated. What is it? It is an ultra poor graduation program. So ultra poor is graduated to be poor, to enable them so that they can borrow money. Because we are talking here about slum and ghetto economy. And then we are forgetting whom we are working for. So with that, let me highlight two areas. The first area, the loan size. So we are talking to leverage microfinance to spur ghetto economy. So the first point, the loan size. The current BRAC has a two product, BRAC microfinance and BRAC bank. Now we are bank, two product. One is microfinance, another is small enterprise program, SEP. So under the microfinance, the average loan size of my BRAC microfinance program is 1.2 million Ugandan shilling. I'm quite sure it is one of the lowest loan size, average loan size. So that's what I want to highlight, that it is not by accident or by incident, it is intentional. The average loan size needs to be as low as you are reaching to that ghetto economy. And then another side, my second point is like understanding that there are people who live in a vicious cycle of poverty, the concept. So addressing one aspect of their problem is not enough, which both of my panelists have talked. So that's why we have a research, even in Uganda, like what we did, we made a 4 arms. In one arm, we served only microfinance. One arm, only agriculture. One arm, only health. And then one arm, microfinance, health, and agriculture. We found statistically significant difference when we leverage with microfinance and other. With my second example, I will finalize my point. The gender dimension. BRAC started the mobile money product, BRAC Uganda, BRAC Bank Uganda. So what we did a research that the loan we give through mobile money, the cash, in place of cash in hand, we give through mobile money. We found significant difference and better performance of the small business holders, business owners, because they are using money through it is all women. So here comes, the name of the research is like resisting household pressure by mobile money. So if you just give money, it is not enough. Because he is not only, problem with health and problem with education, but also the gender dimension. So the policy implication is that the MFIs should be careful enough to what level of people they are reaching to, and they are still calling themselves MFI. You see, BRAC recently have a partnership with MSc. I'm proud to say that. Why did we partner? Because MSc is reaching to do those grassroots people, and BRAC has multi-sectoral program. And we are conducting a research through MSc and BRAC to understand the gender dimension of BSLA, which is very important. And the second policy implication is that as much as we can leverage with microfinance, we amplify the impact of microfinance. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That is James from BRAC. Doctor, when he was presenting, I love the fact that he hinted about something called gender inequality. Most of the campaigns and the strategies that have been laid, especially to spur the ghetto economies to come up forward, they have basically looked strongly about the women. And it's not a lie when you go to the, I'll find some time with you and possibly walk with you in a place called Chinamwandu. It's a ghetto area where they cook food that is served in their kids in Kampala. It's most women, and when you talk to them, they will say, I got this maybe from Microfinance Support Center and the other credit facility givers. The gender equality issue, when it gets to spurring ghetto economies to come forth, how do we achieve that the men are not left behind? Because the women will be empowered financially, but the little they will make, when they get back home, the men are going to actually use it to go take drugs and, waste it. Even at times it causes gender-based violence. So how do we deal with the issue of gender equality, especially in finance?
Yeah, thank you. It speaks really to the BRAC model. And at university, I must confess, none of my students get out of my class without studying the BRAC graduation model. What are we saying here? That blending the practice with the academia, and I think that's one thing BRAC has done well. They have a whole university. BRAC began as a microfinance, but they realized the need for knowledge generation. And quite often you may think you are helping the women, but as I hinted on in the sociology and culture, the men will now abdicate all their duties and say, I see you work, why don't you pay the fees? I see you work, why don't you do this? Now before you know it, you thought you were helping the women, but you see they are not making that progress. But because a lot has been heaped onto them, so even their journey out misses the point now. Gender is supposed to be looking at both sides. But we haven't blended that well. And I have seen a financial institution that report to say, for us we are gender biased, all our borrowers are women. 80% of our borrowers are women. They don't know 90% of the beneficiaries of that lending are men.
Men, yes.
So, and you have actually given the women more burdens, because when they are cooking in that market, remember their responsibilities at home remain. This man has nothing to do with the cleaning of the home. So this woman will live here and go back. So sometimes we actually think we are making progress. Understanding that is critical. And I really would want that to come back. How do we blend the academia, the policy, the politics, and the practice? And I think BRAC does that well. We need to get back to a level where Microfinance Support Center and others, and I'm glad their political supervisors are here. How do we blend the knowledge so that the research is completely informed by knowledge? Emioga has just come on board. What is it curing that Entandikwa could not cure? Those are the kinds of things we want to understand. And I'm glad to see honorable ministers here, the former ministers in the Ministry of Finance. These are people who mentored me in the practice. We were in the academia, but they saw the need for us to come, Honorable Sendaola, Professor Kiwanuka here. They called us into their boardrooms until when we blended in, because they saw the need really to say, do we have enough knowledge? So I think knowledge about these dynamics in the areas of gender, in the areas of culture, in the areas of what people are doing is critically important. I would end with one point that I mentioned earlier, where you lend somebody money and they buy a cow. Now, if the health sector doesn't perform and the child is sick in this home, the cow is going to be sold. So you had, in other words, if you're in the microfinance sector, to secure your investment in this household, you need to work across the bridge to say the health sector is working. The education sector is working. If UPE or USE is not working, this cow is going to be sold. So in the financial sector planning, we have begun to say there are risks that are coming from elsewhere to cannibalize on my investment with the poor. And that's why BRAC funds village health teams. BRAC offers scholarships. These people are going to say, oh, they got to pay school fees. So how do you cover that?
Oh, yeah.
So I think we need to get back and say the parish development model really is not just about that one pillar of financial inclusion.
Yeah.
Let nobody forget the other 6 pillars. If pillar 2 on road infrastructure, community access roads doesn't work, financial inclusion will not work.
Will also fail.
If health doesn't work, which is social services and education, doesn't work, the financial inclusion doesn't work. And that's the lessons we need to learn from the late Kisamba Mugerwa, that he would go down to the ghetto to say, I sit on a board. It should have been Peter Mjenyi to be down there.
Oh, yeah.
And then you feed into the board. But it's like, no, I need to go there myself. Can the policy makers go to where their policies are supposed to be implemented, understand and design the right products? If we can't do that, we'll continue to speak of gender as women, and 10 years, 20 years later, these women will still be where they were. I have seen some women even retrogress, because a woman will sell a sewing machine to pay a loan.
Yeah.
A man will genuinely tell you there was a drought. Didn't you see it? I can't pay the loan.
Yeah.
But women are so loyal that she will sell her other assets to meet that obligation. And I think some people take that advantage of gender to go and cannibalize the women. We need to be serious.
Before I let you go, Doctor, there, you alluded to something that I want to just dig a little bit deeper. What did Ntandikwa fail to cure that Emyoga is actually going to cure? When you look at Emyoga, yes, there was a little bit of media backlash here about Emyoga, but they're success stories. Looking at the ghetto or the slum economies with the Emyoga model, what do you see, Doctor, from your lenses as an economist, vis-a-vis before it actually came through? Because we had quite a lot of products, the youth livelihood product, there was a lot that was brought. But for Emyoga, the same noise that was made about it, I want to believe that it's the same kind of impact or understanding the people at the bottom of the pyramid possibly understood. Maybe my lenses are wrong. What do you see from your lens?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, it's a question of which parameters do you use for success. And this is a message to everybody involved in the microfinance industry.
Yeah.
It's not about the volume of savings and the loans you have given out. It's about the impacts you have made on the communities. So the success of any of these you didn't just lend for the sake of lending. As I've seen these people here, I will tell you their stories. You want to show evidence that when we came in here, this woman and her tailoring industry had one sewing machine. Now they have more. So they have moved on. They have transitioned from $1 a day to 2 or 3, which is what we call, what is the impact you want to make? Now the danger with the politics, we want outreach. So when we publish numbers, we say we have so far supported 150,000 borrowers.
But the impact?
The impact, you don't even want to report on that one. What is the effectiveness? Have you given them resilience? That even when a drought comes, they are able to sustain themselves and continue living on. What is the sustainability of the institution itself? When I see the turnaround of SACCOs, there is no institutional sustainability. And I think that also comes back to the issue of the politics. Did Emyoga have to come with its own SACCOs? When we already had SACCOs for women empowerment, SACCOs for the youth, SACCOs, when are we going to get to a level to say, build one large SACCO, so that whichever other government initiative that comes will leverage that SACCO? I want to believe BRAC doesn't form a branch for education, a branch for goats, a branch for chicken. The same BRAC delivers on all. When we created the agricultural credit facility, it didn't require new banks. It went through the same banks. So how do we change the narrative to say sustainability of these SACCOs? To build a SACCO and sustain it is not easy. So when you have built one, put every other responsibility to it so that it can have volumes to move, impacts to make, and longevity to look to.
Wow. Well done. Rachel, that brings me to what earlier you alluded to. You said people are being given money, but they're not empowered enough. Just to quote it right, the participation, are they enabled before they're given credit? And that alludes to what Doctor is saying, that the institutional structures. When you look at the slum economies, we don't understand structures. I'll be honest with you, when you're in the ghetto, they will say, Oluzungu runji, sign here, sign there, come back tomorrow, muje mukaga. There is a way it trains, and the mindset is not ready to just come through back and forth, and at times they fall. And out of the 3 Ugandans who have moved out of poverty, 2 will slide back when one keeps going ahead. Let's talk about the vehicles of information. Are we using the right vehicles to reach out to these people? The models of communicating to them to create awareness and sensitization. Are we using the right models, the right communication tools, the language per se?
Okay, right. Thank you. That is a very important aspect. Communication, awareness, sensitization. These are very, very critical aspects in financial inclusion or the money journey.
Yep.
You asked whether the right channels are being used, the right methods, the right strategies. I'll say we're trying, but I'll also take you back to what I mentioned earlier. Do we understand the language that these people speak? Do we understand the nature of organizational structures in those communities? These are people who will tell you, why are they telling you Luzungu Lunji? They're telling you because you're not speaking their language. You've not understood their way of life. I can tell you that the slum communities have the highest social capital. They have the highest social ties that we oversee. How do we use those ties? How do we use the economic activity that they do to bring them together to listen to the opportunities that have been brought forward? Microfinance Center will come and say, we've started yoga. Have you broken that down? Have we broken down the pillars of the parish model to these people and share with them, break down the opportunities, the value proposition, and the how? I'll take from my friend Ramadan, economics that works. How will it work? It will work when you actually involve the beneficiaries throughout the process. Like I said earlier, we sit in high-level places and make plans for the communities that we're going to serve. But can we use the right language? Can we go and ask them what language they understand? What they understand about money? How do they understand ISACO? How do they understand savings? How do they understand credit? When we look at the slum dwellers, for instance, or the informal communities, these are people who have unique characteristics. They also have unique ways of, sometimes we sit here and say these people are poor, the poverty levels are low, gender levels, the gender inequality is too high. And yet when you look at the statistics, there is actually a parity. But what am I saying? I'm saying that let's go in and then come out and take decisions when we know exactly what we're going to tell them, when we know exactly what language they understand, what products. Microfinance Support Center, microfinance service providers need to go to those communities and interact with them and experience their way of life. Then we shall be able to treat them correctly instead of assuming.
Well, thank you so much. You can give that a round of applause. I felt that. As Omuntu Awansi, I feel the inclusion aspect needs to start from the thought processing before it comes down. This is what you need to do. Those following this conversation at home on your different televisions and those online, we want to thank you. If you have any question, just drop it. Microfinance Support Center, the hashtag is there, 20 years. I'll pick it a little later and then we'll ask the team here to respond to this. James, my people, Bantu Bawansi, the guys in the ghetto, we always believe that a loan is a way out. I'm going to go get a loan, I'll start up a small business, maybe a boutique, maybe a small poultry feed. Is a loan a way out? And have you as institutions sat down and broken it down to them, that they understand it before they get into it? Or they're just excited to get the money? And if you do so as BRAC, how do you do it uniquely that we can borrow a reef?
Yeah, I think BRAC is aware of your question, I would say. Because I was telling that BRAC Bank has two products broadly. They have so many products. Of course, a bank should have many products. But all products you can simplify in two types. The first type is a microfinance, for which you have to be a group member. The other category is SME, small enterprise loan. Or you want to loan from a bank, where you take your car, and then go to bank, ask for loan. But we are not talking for those people. We are talking for ghetto economy. So, for the ghetto economy, when we are talking, we are going to save these people, we also have to save MFI. So, to get those people microfinance, for the microfinance that level, it requires to be a member of a group, because those MFIs also need security of the loans. So BRAC repayment rate is 99%. Some of it is it should surprise. Like reaching to repayment rate 99%. In what case it is possible? It is the selection process, it is the repayment culture, it is that you are serving the right people with the right product. When it happens, they will also be grateful, and they will be also responsible to repay those loans. So, as you definitely BRAC. If I bring that back issue of the UPG, ultra poor graduation, we serve one people, but it follows a household approach. Because even a person with disability lives in a household. So when we measure the poverty, all those things, the measurement of the graduation process, those assesses both the individual indicators and also the household poverty and other welfare indicators. So I think both is important. You have an African proverb that if you want to go somewhere quick, go alone. But if you go long away, go in a team. So both is important depending on the situation.
Okay. Thank you so much, James. Dr. Fred, now this brings me back to how we are organized on the ground. We are in clusters, groups. You'll hear a lot of association when you get in the ghettos and in the slum economy. When do we graduate to cooperatives? Can we actually graduate to cooperatives? And what are the benefits that are there? Because oftentimes we talk as circles, we talk as groups, but we never want to graduate to be cooperatives. Is it something that can work in our generation? The minister was here and he alluded to something back in the days when some of us were not actually here. But now in our generation, we have overly been in groups as financial groups. We have our Bibina on the ground. It's very challenging. There are times they will say, let me tell you how our groups work, just to bring you to speed. So they will say, this week it's Andrew getting, next week it is James getting, next week it's Rachel, and the next week it's Fred, and the circle comes back. Microfinance support centers try to demystify that, trying to build structures that they could possibly understand how a better group could work. Can we graduate from groups to cooperatives? And what are the benefits that could come to the people in the ghetto economies if they do that graduation?
Thank you. It's really an interesting narrative. Maybe some squirrels will never graduate into the size of a dog. They are meant to stay that way. But in medical practice, and this is why I cross things, they have things they track really for growth. Height for age, weight for age. This child is growing, but is the child normal? There is a bracket they should be in. But because you're expecting this child eventually to grow into an adult human being. I have been in universities teaching for 25 years, and people think I should be a professor or whatever now. But I'm not going to graduate into a professor because I'm not in that line. Me, all my university work for the last 25 years has been part-time. And part-timers cannot graduate into professors. And I just like it that way. I want to be, mobile division, mercenary in wherever I go. But I find it more convenient now. Why are we not graduating SACCOs into cooperatives? Is the narrative again going into the legalistic and the politics and the policy approaches? Cooperatives feed from societies. Now, if you cannot call SACCOs a society, then they are on a different track. They will not graduate into a cooperative. Because a cooperative really picks from the societies. And that is where we go back into the legal. That most SACCOs are registered by the Ministry of Trade. Yet the Ministry of Trade is supposed to register cooperatives, which cooperatives can do any other thing, growing yams, selling pineapples, fishing. It can be a cooperative with no money attached to that functionality. But the moment a cooperative decides to go into the money business, then it should be licensed by UMRA to become a SACCO. But remember now, because it originates from the cooperative side, then it has sure trajectory to grow into a cooperative. So it's a legal issue that we need to address, because there is no way we will secure this multiplicity of SACCOs if we can't allow them to collate at a certain level into a cooperative. I grew up on coffee, but me and my mother and my father, we belonged to a society that became a cooperative, that became a bigger thing, and eventually there was a cooperative bank. Now I hear people want to start a cooperative bank without cooperatives and societies below it. So the knowledge needs to come back, and I want to get back to the issue of data and knowledge. How many SACCOs do we have? If they were societies rooting from there, we would know them. But now we can't know. And I think that is where I really cherished the legacy of the late Kisamba Mugerwa. His NPA board was executive with 5 members. But he said, I cannot make some of these decisions with 5 members. Through his ingenuity, he created what he called an expanded NPA board with 35 members. Now you can imagine what additional wealth he would get before any decision was made. So I think we need to resolve some of these legal things. We are not going to succeed with everybody forming a SACCO. Now you are just, this is our rotational SACCO here. What you've forgotten, I would be in another SACCO of border riders, and we're also doing something else there. I'm also in the SACCO of Fathers Union. We're also doing some, I get overstretched. And now when I go to BRAC has no ability of knowing my credit worthiness, because you're so scattered in different portfolios and obligations. And I will end with the minister's remark here. We call it microfinance. You can call it microcredit. My professor told me it is microdebt. We never bring up that aspect. You think you're helping them, but actually majority of the money lenders are looking at, now you owe me money interest. The minister here mentioned his budget includes 5 trillion of interest payment. I want to believe Honorable Senda Walahia is wondering, what is this? His entire budget was 5 trillion, or less than that. Now the minister here, before he even begins to budget, 5 trillion is interest payment on debt. So the moment we begin to say, are we not over-indebting the poor? Are we really giving them the money to trajectorily move out? Because there are some people in this space literally to make money out of the poor. How do you get those out? Regulation. UMRA is here. But UMRA will get a mix-up. Somebody will tell me, I'm not a SACCO. I'm a cooperative. To clean up that is a legal requirement. So for me, regulation is key. I know all about insurance, but the only time I've paid for insurance is for the fear of the police. Now you know which insurance I pay for. I'm only emphasizing the point of government. Where government is, people behave. Even when they don't know why. We must bring government back, forcefully, regulate, enforce, to clean up as we bring the poor. Otherwise, people will cannibalize the poor and not support them.
Wow. Thank you so much, Doctor. This conversation is live on Twitter. I see a couple of your tweets. I will respond to them. a little later, but let's keep them coming. We're discussing how we can leverage the economies, whether the slum or the ghetto economies, to come up and they spur to greater heights. Dr. Rachel, how do we break the fear? Someone on Twitter has just sent a very, very critical tweet, and just to read exact words. This is an inclusion aspect. And someone says, Chamageru, thank you so much for the conversation, but again, we are not included. There is no sign language person out there. I am disabled. I am watching on TV. I've seen the ghetto and slums where I stay, but there is no sign language. And you're talking about finance, inclusion still, meh. It comes back and says, my issue here is we have fear to access credit to change our storyline. And doctor, these are my people. You'll forgive me the language they use on Twitter because that's how we write on those tweets. But what I've picked from her is there is no inclusion here. Even while we're speaking, there is no sign language to include those in the ghettos who are, disabled. But the fear of accessing credit is eminent on the ground. I'll be honest with you. The way the banking halls are designed, the way the loan officers dress up and the language they speak, the ambience when you go in there, the way these, the bank attendants talk to you, you seem to be an alien in that particular banking hall. So how do we make sure that these facilities are user-friendly for us, abantu bawansi?
Thank you, moderator. I'll start with, you asked how do we break the fear? How do we stop the fear generally? When we are talking about money, when we're talking about finance for all, when we're talking about financial inclusion, it's important to start, you break fears and in any conversation or whatever situation it is by beginning to talk about things. We are here, but how many forums are there to just freely talk about money, share experiences, share experience about debt, candid conversations about money, about people's fears, about their understandings. That's the way we begin to break the fear, talking candidly about it. I like that the minister came here and candidly told us that we have a debt of 5 trillion casually.
Keyword is casually.
Casually. That triggered so many things in our minds as the people of Uganda, but also as people who are talking about inclusion. So where are the priorities? These casually. My point I'm driving to here is, you talk about the banking halls. Banks are not the only providers of financial services. Are people aware that there are alternative providers of financial services in this space? Just within the formal framework, we have the commercial banks, we have microfinance institutions, we have micro-deposit taking institutions, we have development banks, we have alternative providers who are providing private equity, who are providing, who are investing in businesses that are focusing on social returns, that are doing social good within societies. Do people know about these alternatives? If we feel we're intimidated, even us who are dressed properly, sometimes you go to the bank and it's just too hectic. Sign here, sign there, sign this. Is it still relevant? When the entire world is going into a digital space, efficiency, turnaround, and making things fast and quick and comfortable. We're here talking about financial inclusion. It's about convenience. It's about affordability. It's about access. It's about usage. Is this happening? Can we boldly come to have these conversations and say what is happening and what alternatives are available and educate the public on these alternatives? I participated in a research that opened my eyes to alternative financing. And I began to look at the formal financial institutions differently, because there are people who have money, there are these grants, there are these foundations that are doing a lot of good in terms of understanding different segments of society, their needs, and then giving them money piecemeal to solve their problems, but also providing auxiliary services like training, awareness, understanding of how money is supposed to grow, understanding return on investment, understanding marketing, branding, We also, the dancers here, they didn't have to say much, but we knew they are promoting the agenda of the government. Okay? So that is what we need to be doing. We need to speak candidly. We need to speak about alternatives. Fred here talked about data, information, research. The late Right Honorable Speaker, RIP, was telling parliamentarians, come to parliament with data, with research, because that is what is going to treat the right problem, as opposed to assuming. So, Mr. Moderator, we need to talk candidly. We need to recognize the gaps, the challenges, the needs of those specific segments, and then we come to say, this is the solution, and also include the different personalities. The person with disability, I think those are lessons for us. Do we take away lessons from engagements that we have? And what do we do with those lessons and sharings from the public? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We apologize to those with impairments. We really apologize. On behalf of Microfinance Support Center, we apologize, and that will be dealt with in the next time. So, James, are we bankable? Are the people from the ghetto economies, are they bankable? And if we're not bankable, what should we do to be compliant, to the, to be credit worth in a way? Your mic is off.
I think it's okay. So, I think, to be honest and very straightforward, like people living in ghetto area, slum area, are normally not bankable, to be honest.
Why?
Now, that's all the policy force. Should be and is. But the question is, how far did we succeed? How can we make them bankable? So, because bank gives loan, and then bank also have to survive. I'm coming that point again. So, I think there need as Dr. Fred says, that actually there need some transition time, like how these people can be can enter into formal banking system. And why not in between we talk about these alternative sources of finance, and then also alternative process of financing. So I conclude with these 2 points, 2 highlights. One is alternative sources of finance, and then alternative process of financing. So sources. So for people living there, for them need an alternative sources. Talk about VSLA, talk about microfinance, but again, don't forget, BRAC average loan size is 1.2 million only. Can MFI go to that down? So that's not easy by any MFI. BRAC did it, but that's kind of a learning point. So go to that low to them, to their door, and make your product, your financial product in that way, so that they can get it. The second point, the process. We did a study in Liberia. What we did, a group of SME owners, we just gave a loan. A group of SME owners, we gave a loan, and then enterprise owners, and we trained them, business management and customer care. We found amazing difference. The people with the training on business management and customer care, their customer number increase, retention of ongoing customer increase, likelihood of loss decrease, and their overall capital and performance increase. So when we are talking about microfinance, let's not forget microfinance alone will not work. Believe me, it is not what I am talking. It is Nobel laureate Abhijit Banerjee in 2015 already concluded that microfinance has a little impact but not transformative. So to make it transformative, it needs leverage with other sectors. That's why I liked your title, that leveraging microfinance to spur ghetto economy. It needs a leverage. That's the policy implication.
Thank you so much. Round of applause for my panel, ladies and gentlemen. Let's give them a clap. Doctor, I saw you were banning. You wanted to supplement on something he was raising here when it got to something to do with policy, especially to alternative sourcing of finance.
Yeah, I think it is linked up to the policies, and policies really are at two levels. There are policies government will make, and quite often we emphasize those policies and we discuss them in such public spaces. But there are also institutional policies. Now, for most of the regulated financial institutions, like where Bank of Uganda is, the governance demands that those institutional policies are there and they are speaking to people. And I think James raises an important point. Quite often, customer care is never profiled. You just want to teach people how to assess a borrower and then rate their risks and decide whether to give them money or not. You don't even tell them this is where you are risky. If you can go and improve in this area, you just say you are not eligible, and back home they go. But if you have customer care that really builds into this, so you want to also to talk about the lower level of institutional policies that are needed, and then the linkage between the two is critically important. We have all learned from COVID. As soon as COVID hit, Bank of Uganda issued guidelines to the banks to restructure the loans. And for some time, people were told, go and talk. You can be able to agree with your banker whether or not to pay the interest or only the interest. Agree with them, but they gave them that liberty to go back into a conversation. And some of these are still running. Now, who stood in for bottom of the pyramid? They also had borrowed. And when COVID came, we sent all of them home. We even gave them food for just a week, yet we locked them down for 8 months. What happened between them and their lenders down there? We have no idea. So some of them may never recover. So even as we talk about alternative sources of funding, policies do matter. As I've said, regulation is critical, but policies are even more important both at the higher level, but also at the institutional level to manage the relationship between the borrower and the lender. I think we are missing a lot there. And all we are interested in is pumping money into these villages. Government releases another trillion. Government releases another this. Sustainability of these institutions. Thank God, MSC is celebrating 20 years. If I can go back and find circles that MSC started with, how many are available? So are we interested in the sustainability of the institutions? So a lot of work needs to be done, really, before we even sign the first check. If I was Minister of Finance, well, the Minister of Finance is the President, and that I'm not about to be. But we can have this conversation with him. Before the money is signed off, these are the things that need to be put in place if we are to get the impact that we really need.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, the hashtag is MS@20. That is on Twitter. I'll pick some of your questions and we shall proceed. One person here says that very great conversation, but will we have these conversations in our local languages? Again, you've not addressed the issue of inclusion. Muli Muruzungu. I want to request you, my friends, trips, wherever you are, I understand your concerns, but let's be a little bit, civil. Okay, someone says, good to have you, Andrew, there. You indeed understand what we go through here. But my question is, if we are to address the issue of financial inclusion, can they change the model from send a cow to empowering us as a family unit. I think that's just a compliment. And I'll get back to the questions on Twitter. The hashtag is MSC at 20, it's 80 at 20. I'll pick some of your questions from there. But if there are people who have questions in here, my brother Mlondo is here. The mic is going to be going around. Brian? The mic is going around. If you have any question for our panelists, this is the time. It's a Q&A. Just raise your hand, you tell us your name and where you're from, and you ask a question.
Thank you so much, moderator. Thank you so much, our panelists. And thank you so much, everyone. Ivan Asimwe, the General Secretary of Uganda Cooperative Alliance. Before I make my comments, I would want to correct you, Mr. Moderator. You asked a question that when shall a SACCO graduate into a cooperative? And I got touched. A SACCO is a savings and credit cooperative organization. It is a form of cooperative that provides financial services to its members. I wanted you to get it very well. And I also had a doctor trying to get an answer to that, but he was not clear because a SACCO is a cooperative. I think that one is clear. Fine. Now, first of all, I want to thank MSL for the support in regards to financial inclusion. But I want to thank the government for the PDM. This morning I was on TV talking about the role of cooperatives in the parish development model. When you critically look at the PDM, it's very clear it's a multi-sectoral strategy for creating socio-economic transformation by moving the 39% household from the subsistence economy to money economy, using the parish as an epicenter for development. When you define a cooperative, it has those connotations: the socio-economic transformation and the multi-sector approach. So when you are talking about this, the two are the same. The SACCO, being a savings and credit cooperative organization, plays a key role in financial inclusion. However, the approach here is a problem, because a cooperative is supposed to be allowed to grow organically. It needs organic growth for it to be strong and sustainable. We have very strong cooperatives in this country. Moderator, when you were talking, it looks like you are looking at SACCOs as VSLOs. We have very strong SACCOs. My friend, Honorable Kuraija will tell you, Wazalendo today, I was for their AGM, is at a level of even acquiring a commercial bank. It is bigger than a bank. So when we are talking about SACCOs, moderator, a SACCO, we now have very strong institutions, which are SACCOs. So they don't need to graduate like my name is Ivan. You cannot say, when shall Ivan graduate into Ivan? He's Ivan, period. So that is it. So we need to change the approach. The approach matters. And the message matters. When you go outside there, I have had meetings with the MSCL. When you go outside there, what message have you packed to the population? If the moment you go there and say that you form SACCOs and we give you money, that is not a SACCO. Because a cooperative follows the 7 cooperative principles and values, and it follows the cooperative ideology. The moment you go astray or you go ultra-vires that definition, then it changes from a cooperative to something different, and that is where we get challenges as government and as practitioners. Now, the other issue, Dr. Mohape talked about the cooperative bank, and he's very right. For cooperative bank to grow and become sustainable, it must be a bottom-up approach, not a top-down. And you need structures that are strong enough to sustain it. And when you look at the PDM and you talk about the financial inclusion, then ideally for money to trickle down to the farmers, we need to have a cooperative bank. But a cooperative bank that is allowed to organically grow and then serve the members. Then lastly, I want to give a personal testimony. I was a general manager of a SACCO for 7 years, and I worked in SACCOs for 12 years. But I want to tell you, Microfinance Support Center, there is a time when I was stuck as a general manager. I was employed. I was just 2 days old. So I reached there. The SACCO had working capital. You can't believe. SACCO having a working capital of 500 shillings, a whole SACCO, because they had swindled the money. The next day, a member comes to withdraw 200,000. Can you imagine you're a general manager of such an institution? So running away was the best alternative. But I had to go to Microfinance Support Center. I sat with them in Kabale then. I explained my case. They couldn't believe that this thing works. I was requesting 400 million. They said, no, we can only give you 20. You are a very small SACCO. I paid it in 6 months. I graduated to 100 million. I graduated to 200 million to 500 million. To date, the SACCO has a savings portfolio of 10 billion and a loan portfolio of 14 billion with 24,000 members. So this is what we mean, the approach. They did not start that SACCO, they only supported it to grow. So what is needed for these institutions to grow organically, it is not the role of government to start. It is the role of government to guide and support. Then let the communities themselves initiate the program. That's when you have a strong and sustainable SACCO or cooperative. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ivan. Before Brian, Doctor, do you want to respond to this?
It's not actually a response. It is to emphasize Asimwe's point, which he has done himself. He agrees with us when you asked, when are SACCOs going to grow into cooperatives?
Actually, for clarity, I use the word groups under what we call associations. Not SACCOs, but groups. Katwe Bikers Association Group. And then you give us the hierarchy of how possibly they could graduate.
That is even better. But I don't think inserting the word cooperative makes a SACCO a cooperative. And he himself has said they must grow organically. They must adhere to the 7 principles. This is the question we are saying. These SACCOs, by just having the word cooperative in their name, does not make them cooperatives. And we need to invest in that area. How do we make sure you don't come as a politician and say, you form a SACCO, I give you money? That's not a SACCO. Or rather, it is a SACCO, but not a cooperative. So we all agree with him. We have an issue. When are SACCOs going to grow into cooperatives? Adhere to the 7 principles, be formed and grow organically from societies to a cooperative and now into a cooperative bank. Until we address those issues, we'll walk around with things that call themselves cooperatives when they are actually not.
Okay. Thank you so much. And just to be clear, I am aware that Exodus is equally doing good. The one of Uganda Police. Wazalendo is doing good as a SACCO. And there are other remarkable SACCOs in this country that are at different layers. And I agree with that. Brian, where is the next question? Brian, Afande has a question here. Oh, okay.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Victor. I'm into media, and one of the panelists raised an issue of dissemination of information. From the media perspective, we have a challenge that most of these, the players in the financial inclusion endeavors, sometimes they are I wouldn't want to say aloof, but they are hard to reach, hard to approach, and I would request the leaderships of maybe MSC and other players in this sector to avail avenues where the media fraternity can work together with you to come up with comprehensive information programs that reach down to the people that they are supposed to serve. Then my other issue or question goes to the doctor, the lady from the Securities Exchange. I believe Securities Exchange plays a big role in the development of the economy. And yes, we are championing saving, but where is the money going to go after saving? Has the Securities Exchange come up with a program that grows opportunities for these circles, the people who have their money, to be able to play on the Securities Exchange? Because currently, I would say Uganda is one among the top innovative countries in the region or in the continent. And we take a big position on the global scene in the world of innovation. But many of these innovations stop at the drawing paper. Getting financing to even produce the minimum viable products is hard. Let's face it, many of the ghetto youth have very wonderful ideas, but they are cut out because they're not going to be able to develop the product very well to meet the market. The growth to market strategy is very capital intensive and requires a little bit of patient capital. Most of the microfinance or circles, they give you money, they expect you to start making some installments by the next week. So I'm wondering, is there a strategy from the Securities Exchange to, remedy that? Thank you.
Okay, let's have another question so that we can respond to them at once.
Mr. Moderator, thank you, and thank you, our panelists. Mine is an observation. Most of the circles have not grown to the pace at the pace we would want them to grow for one major reason: our mindset to saving. Actually, the attitude of many Ugandans is of reception. They expect to receive, not to save. And that's why every financial inclusion approach from the Bonabaga Gawale, name them, is reception. Nipe. None wants to deny himself or herself a coin for another day. And if I were the chart, I would draw for you that majority of the circles, if they are imagine they are a basket, what comes in is a small, very malnourished rod that brings in money into the circle. And the exit is a very huge tarmac road, meaning people are simply taking out of the circle rather than bringing in. What has the secret behind the survival and the growth of Wazalendo is policy. We had to go into forceful saving. Voluntary failed. We had to force from source. The money is yours, but we take it from you into SACCO and you operate a savings account. You have your own ATM, you can access it. We also put a limit how much you can withdraw, so that the SACCO can grow. Now that's why we are threatening to have a bank. So the challenge to Dr. Muhumuza, who talks to us most of the time, and to my brother from cooperative, can we take the gospel about saving a notch higher? To expect, and that's why the notion, Dr. Muhumuza, you hear, form a circle and I give you money. The desire is you want these people to access money, yes, but you can't give it to an individual. Hence the reason you encourage them to come together. But some come together conveniently so they can access this money you have brought in, and the end of the circle is there. Until we deal with the mindset, we are in a vicious circle. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's give that a round of applause. The mindset is a key issue.
Thank you very much, our moderator. My name is Deon Sedeko Kayua, a farmer from Kalangala and Zirobwe. I'm here because of Dr. Kisamba's family, because I was linked to him from the DP times up to the time of his death. We were together. We want to appreciate Microfinance Center for remembering him. He was really a stout man, an intelligent man, and an asset to the nation. The advice we can give, emulate him, how he was operating. He was down to earth as a person. He was a farmer, a real farmer, at his home, who could sit down with the farmers in their small gardens and eat with them and give them advice. He was not a pretender. He could advise how we should develop. In your systems, I tried to follow, because I've been chairman of Cooperative Bank. I was the director of Coffee Marketing Board and East Mengo chairman. I'm a cooperator. So if we have to succeed, let us organize our system, particularly the microfinances, with linings to organic, to natural cooperation. Let us assist these people to plan their individual lives. Let us not give them money because they have written a proposal. Let us try to look at their families. Let us try to include family planning in our systems. They are writing very good proposals with 30 kids behind, with several women and so on and so on. Can we be an instrument of change to them? This is what Kisamba was telling them. Please, mwirabirire. Intandikwa for what? This money, why do you want it? Where do you want to be in 5 years, in 10 years, as a family? These circles complicate issues. They circle, they keep together, but individually, let us go down to these people, what they are doing. In Nicaragua, where I am, we are now on palm oil, but it is changing the society. Everybody is singing palm oil. Can we find alternatives, the crops which can grow and bring in money quickly, but at a long time also? As of now, Microfinance Support Center, I would advise that we have paradigm shift to our communities, because they are bogged down. They don't know what to do. You are giving them money, but for what? What are the skills down there? What are the activities down there? For example, in Bamunanika, where I come from, what is our production? How are the individuals surviving? Cassava, Rumonde, are they really break even at a family level? Microfinance Support Center, I think we must go at that level. Sit with these people and see how we can go. Otherwise, thank you very much for remembering my brother. We should do it, I think, annually, and translate his works. He wrote good books. What I saw here is just a small thing of his mind. Try to put it in Luganda, any other language. He has a lot of knowledge. He left a lot of advice. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mzee Kaiwa. Round of applause for Mzee Kaiwa. We could have a question from this side as well, and then we shall respond to that and we call it a day. Yes, boss.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. And I thank very much the experts that were brought to our guidance in these discussions. Dr. Mumuza, you are really doing a good job. And I would wish you to add that one who does not know where he comes from, where he is, cannot know where to go. We have to study the genesis of our country since its independence. And I have had the idea of what we call cooperatives as a form of business organization, compared to other forms of business organization like a partnership, like companies, and like corporations like Micro Support Center is a corporation initiated by government after analyzing the problem for microfinance for the benefit of the common person who is an active poor. I think we need to look at Uganda as a country since independence compared to other countries like Tanzania, Kenya, and even our colonial masters who developed this idea of cooperatives in this country when they were still here. The cooperatives were initiated by colonialists as a result of having identified the problem. What I know for sure, people must have problems defined in the context of their own causes, effects, and then prescribe solutions. Dr. Muhumuza, I think you are there. Now, Uganda's problem since independence has been what? So that we can define the problems in the context of microfinance support center to address government policies as a pace setter. Government is a pace setter. And I was listening to the minister who is a minister for finance and economic development. What policies does he have for an institution like this which was established by government? We are glad today Micro Support Center has organized a function for us to remember our veteran politician, Kisamba Mugerwa, Dr. Kisamba Mugerwa. I knew Dr. Kisamba Mugerwa personally. I worked with him, and right from his birth to the time he died, I was seeing a man who had the conception of what Uganda should be. He was at one time a minister. He was at one time the chairman of the planning authority. But we are recognizing him today because of his last stage where he worked in the Micro Support Center. And we are here because Kisamba Mugerwa made his fundamental contribution in the Micro Support Center. Why? Because wherever he worked, he was not in authority to determine the right policies. He went, as the minister informed us, he went to the Microfinance Support Center at his serene stage. And he wanted his dreams realized. And we are here today to remember him. That means if we had problem definition at independence, we could have and we had the right prescription of policies, such a policies that created cooperatives in the initial stage of the colonialists, we would not be talking the way we are talking. I come from Masaka, where cooperative movement had gathered momentum. I looked at my brother, Gerard Sendaula, who was Minister of Finance at one time, and he created a program called the PEEP, Poverty Alleviation Program. What can we say about it today? Today we are talking of parish development model without considering why PEP failed, why Emyoga have failed. And now we go on infatuating programs without going to the details and analyzing why the programs are failing.
Thank you.
So my comment is not a question, it's an observation, but to draw this gathering to focus properly.
Thank you.
So that we define our problems, we see the causes that bring them, and also prescribe solutions that can really help us.
Thank you.
Microfinance Support Center carry on that.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, because of time, allow me, we'll only take that. I think, Dr. Rachel, you're going to respond. There was something to do with communication and the vehicles usage from the back.
Thank you, Brian. The question, I didn't get the name, but I know the young man is a journalist. He asked about the opportunities for circles in the Uganda Securities Exchange. I think the issue or question that he raises is also an indication that many of us are not aware of what these institutions actually do. The Uganda Securities Exchange is an entity that provides investment opportunities for companies to list, raise money, and of course there are plans to how do we engage the smaller businesses that are the majority in this country, and how do we expose this opportunity for them to raise money. My point here is, I think, to the journalists, we need to make more noise, as I said, about the opportunities out there for financing businesses, but also the opportunities or option for savings and investments as individuals. And the Uganda Securities Exchange, or the investment space or the capital markets, provides an alternative or option for investment, and also an opportunity to secure a financial future of individuals, but also an opportunity for institutions or companies to raise money. So I think a lesson there is we're not shouting out loud enough as entities that are supposed to support the savings culture, the attitude, providing information, and also the lesson there is to encourage entities to work collaboratively or create partnerships that are going to foster this conversation further and seeing impact therein.
Okay, thank you so much. Dr. Fred, what are your parting shots?
I think a parting shot is really where we need to begin. We have heard from many people that the late Kisama Mugera represented and reflected many faces. He was minister, he was an academician, he was chairman of NPA. Why have we picked on MSC? But even in MSC, why have we picked on the ghetto? And so going back to where his passion was, you saw him go down to the ghetto. I think it speaks to, are we really addressing Omuntu wa wansi? I think that's what he really wanted to understand. And has come out of this conversation when somebody says, you have no person for sign language. Already giving us an idea, we don't know Omuntu wa wansi, we didn't provide for them. But also you have heard others saying, can we translate the languages? Omuntu wa wansi is not English speaking. Is Swahili, is Lugbara, is Ateso, is Acholi. And this is clearly explained in our numbers. Educational records that I saw, sadly they are 2017, and I've asked somebody to update them for me, that only 60% of those who begin P1 sit P7. So it is English, you can hear them say, that is your English.
And of those who sit P7, 60% transition to senior 1, meaning only 36% of those who started in primary 1 have gone to senior 1. But those are the people we must design these products for. So if we can't understand Omuntu Wawansi, we are going to continue speaking English. And I think this is the challenge for me with MSc. Champion beyond your space, generate the knowledge, generate the products that can really serve Omuntu Wawansi, even if they don't have to be implemented by you. You are a government agency, you owe this to us to generate the knowledge that cuts across. I don't want to come back here and we're just speaking English. I want to hear those messages to say, on that day, you really brought him back to life to us as the ghetto people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. James, what are your parting shots?
I think I really enjoyed the feedback. Maybe let me conclude with one response one of our participants were raising, like how someone repay loan from the next week, which is with 30% interest. So I think this is one of the core questions we're dealing with. My quick answer will be, let the MFI come with innovations, and this is time for it. Think about the innovation of M-Pesa in Kenya. Think about the reference I gave, giving the loans through mobile. So two issues, innovation at the two levels. One is making the credit accessible. The second is like the process. How do we give it? When we give it, can we give any other thing with it as a leverage to amplify the impact? So, like, of course, can we make sure, or like even from the policy perspective, can government come with any policy incentive for the MFI to reach to the gateway economy, like a tax reduction incentive? It exists in the good practices. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. Round of applause to our panel, ladies and gentlemen. And again, I want to put this to the record that friends like my friend from Masaka could have issues with Emyoga. Believe you me, every project has its flaws and all. But I want to rally all of us to clap for Emyoga program with a big round of applause. As a journalist, I've traveled this country and I've reported some stories about the Emyogas. And indeed, where there were flaws, they were rectified. Where there were issues, they were addressed. The whole issue was to understand how best we can deal with them. And I think Doctor brings it much more clear that we need to know what kind of disease are we treating. The diagnosis has to be right for us to address it well. I want to thank the Microfinance Support Center for this day, as we are remembering Dr. Chisamba Mugera for all that he did, not only for us, Abantu Wawansi, but for the country. In respect to that, I request we can all stand up just for a moment. Let's stand up to recognize this moment. Let's all stand up for a moment. Let's pay a moment of silence to the soul of the late Dr. Chisamba Mugera. And may his soul rest in eternal peace. Good afternoon. You may resume your seats.
Thank you very much, Omuntu Wawansi. A big round of applause to our panelists. Thank you. And I can guarantee you, I think after here, we have to go and do the work. If you forget anything, please remember this. Champion beyond your space and generate solutions. Yeah? Do what? And generate solutions. So if you've forgotten everything that has happened here, at least carry that. I want to welcome Gerwa to come. Where I come from, we usually stand up when we are recognizing very important people. Yes, and we give them a big round of applause as they walk to the stage. Those hand claps keep going until everyone is on the stage. Yes. For a man to perform and do well, there must be a lot of sober people at home. And surely to raise a child. And the village of Dr. Kisamba did a good job and then handed over to this family. And I think they did a good job. Let's now listen to the villagers who raised well. Thank you. You can sit, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon to you all. The first thing is to make introductions for the people who are in the family of Dr. Kisamba Mugerwa. Just introduce themselves first.
Good afternoon. My name is Agnes Kisamba.
And I'm Miriam Kisamba Bwenje.
Esther Chisamba Buisho.
My name is Jacob Chisamba Chigund.
I'm called Grace Bwenje.